Welcome, the Breaking Chains podcast, season 3, episode 7. We're going to continue on the subject matter of leveling up, but in kind of the subtopic of not caring what other people think about you.
Do we need to care what other people think? A little bit?
Do we need to care? I think we can listen to other people's thoughts.
The fifth agreement.
But it doesn't mean we have to accept.
Did I share the fifth agreement with everyone? In one of these episodes I had to, because I read it and it was a really good book. The book, if you've read the 4 agreements, if you haven't, I highly recommend it, by the 4 agreements. It's
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yeah, that guy. He wrote the fifth agreement, which is very interesting, right? Because it's like the science is settled, 4 agreements, and then he came up with the fifth agreement. And the fifth agreement's really cool because he goes over all the other agreements. So if you want to skip the 4 agreements, but the fifth agreement is be skeptical, but listen.
Yeah, of course.
And so I think it goes really hand in hand with this, right? Like other people's judgments go hand in hand with our own judgments, right? So like if we see something, we can judge it. We could be skeptical, but we need to listen, like you just said. And that's the fifth agreement. And this book was really good because, sometimes it's hard to understand all the what's pinging. Is my intuition telling me no? Is my we already have a block up, right? Like I don't want to hear what you have to offer me. I already know I don't want it. Then there's a middle ground where we can just quiet our minds, quiet everything, and listen. Doesn't mean buy into it. Doesn't mean it's the truth.
Agreed.
But it's being open-minded while also not needing to believe everything you hear.
Yeah, and I think that also makes you much stronger in your positions.
Yeah.
Because if you can actually be like people shut down when you go against their opinions, right? Like, so for instance, a Republican, let's say Republican or a Democrat, let's talk about Republican. If a Republican is like, I'm Republican and this, and you try to give a different perspective and they shut you down, they're not willing to listen, then they're just too attached to being open to additional information that could help guide them on their future decisions.
Yeah.
So I feel much more centered in my positions when I can actually allow people to come say stuff to me and be like, I really hear you. And I understand your perspective, but I still feel very comfortable with where I'm at. It's just a different way of doing it. And there's no defense. There's no needing to defend it. It's actually just
cool.
Yeah.
So what you're actually talking about is what we wanted to get to today, which is other people's judgments, right? So when we're on this venture of leveling up, when I decide, I'm going to go on this spiritual journey, I need to get more connected with God, I need more peace in my life, you're going to get judgments, right? You're going to get the same thing when you're in a business venture. How many people, and give me some judgments that you've had as you've been kind of on a business venture your whole life, but give me some judgments that if you were to listen to or really care, that would have stopped you. Okay, so let's a business venture. You run gyms. All he cares about is money, right? Or you don't care about spending time with your friends anymore. All you care about is your business. You've gotten that? No?
I've been pretty blessed to just not have that many people, or maybe I just haven't heard them. Maybe I just had tunnel vision and just.
You're the one that told me that. Somebody said that.
Said what?
All you care about is money.
No, I said that's what, when I was a young kid, that's what some of my family members thought.
Okay, that's a judgment. That's what I mean.
Of course, but not in my business. Not in the gyms, if we're talking about the gyms now.
Okay.
Back in the day, it was Chris just wants to make money. Yeah, I wanted to make money.
Okay, so is there anything wrong with that?
No. It's literally a medium exchange. Like,
Exactly. I mean, that's what I was getting to. Like, if you're on this, so you've been on a business like venture your whole life. Like, yeah, I'm going to make money. What made you want to make money?
I wanted to get out of my house.
That's the source of what we're doing and when we're going through something, whether it's spiritually, whether it's financially, whether it's no matter what we're doing relationship wise in our life, there has to be a why behind it, right? So like, why did you want to make money?
I wanted to make money for a lot of reasons. Number one, I wanted to really like kind of, I guess I really wanted to be a provider in many ways too. I knew that I could make money, so I wanted to see what I could make. I also think part of me wanted to do it to take care of my family, like my mom, my dad. I wanted to be able to move out my house and have my own space. I wanted to be able to do anything that I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it.
So all the judgments of you just want money,
I wanted freedom.
What do you feel like that is?
All those judgments?
A projection.
It's a projection from those individuals. Right.
Yeah. So a lot of times judgments, like when people are judging us and we hear things, it's just like how they feel about themselves that they're projecting out. Like, all you want is money. Wait a minute. All I want is money. Yo, having money is nice, but me seeing you actually going to get it triggers me because I'm not figuring out why I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
Right. So there can definitely be an energetic, which you also went through, like a shift in your life when you became more spiritual. You also were like, wait, chasing money is like chasing my tail. Right. Money comes when money goes out from my heart. Also, when I realized the true source is abundant, limitless. Right. So once we get to that place, it doesn't matter what people are saying about us anyway, right? But how do we get there? How do we get to that place of like all these judgments? People are going to say what they want to this day. Like I remember you posted, it's kind of funny. You posted a video. It was an ad and somebody said something about your hair.
No, yeah.
Like your hair. Like somebody's focused on your hair when you're posting about a gym.
I know. So, I mean, I think it's, I heard this a while back and it said, nobody who's talking about you would ever do it because they're doing better than you.
That's a good one.
So like
yes.
whenever, it's almost like a person is only going to talk about you when they're not doing what you're doing. But somebody who is actually doing what you're doing and knows what you've been through, like another entrepreneur who runs a gym, he knows what I've been through. He would never talk about me. There's nothing really to say about me.
Or
but somebody else who doesn't know,
right,
never been in it, and understand what we do every day, it's so that's why you're able to kind of like push those.
I don't know if the quote you're talking about is people that are doing better than you would never be talking about you.
Correct.
Because they're too busy doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So when you level up and you're listening to judgments, it's always people that are not leveling up.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So I think that's the hardest thing to recognize and having a breakthrough of getting to that next space. It's realizing that all the people judging you and holding on to you like, don't go. It's because you're about to break through and level up and maybe go somewhere and their energy, their vibration is not going to vibrate with yours any longer. Like you might not be able to spend as much time chit-chatting on the phone with them, gossiping about other people because you're no longer in that space where it feels good to talk about other people.
Of course.
Right? Like when you realize that people around you are talking about people all the time and you no longer want to do that, it is so freaking weird. Like to be sitting in a space where people are just like, have nothing better to do than talk about other people. It's like you're watching yourself like, damn, this really used to be me. I used to laugh at people like this. I used to gossip about people like this. It is so low vibe that it's actually like physically like, it makes you physically feel weird.
Yeah, like you don't want to be in that environment.
Yeah. And then the next step up from that, It's like realizing you're not in that environment, being empowered by other people around you, people lifting you up, people not having time to talk about other people because they're like, yo, you rock, you're on fire, you're doing amazing. What else can we do to make you better?
Well, the only reason you would ever talk about anybody is to make yourself feel good.
But does it make you feel good?
No, doesn't. I don't talk about people.
No,
I'm saying is,
does talking about others make anyone feel better?
It's an illusion that it does.
Right, because
it's almost like, wow, look at them. I'm over here, but look at them. They're not doing really good. So it makes me feel better with my stagnant spot that I'm at right now. So I think that it does actually feel good for the individual speaking about somebody else because it's like a false sense of confidence.
I'm in a better position, right? It reminds them that they're not doing it as bad as somebody else.
Yeah, so they're comfortable with where they're at.
At least I'm here and I'm not down there. So when we're talking about other people, we're so busy looking at somebody who we think is less than us than looking at somebody who we want to aspire to be like and saying, how do I get there?
Correct.
It's saying, at least I'm not there instead of, how do I get there? Right? I'm thinking about my own life and my insecurities and judgments. And even to this day, I will, because I'm going to be brutally honest here. I have to let everyone know where I'm at in my journey. I will often bring up people that are doing certain things or in certain positions. Not ever because I'm like, haha, look at you. Many times I'm like, how do I help them? What do you think about that? Like, how do I help this person? I really want to help this person. If they have, let's say, like children that they're doing things with their children that I don't believe is okay to do to children. I stopped vaccinating my son, all of my children, because of his severe reactions, right?
Yeah.
So like now when I look at other moms like getting their kids injected and they're like proud of it, I'm like, argh! Sometimes I'm learning how to like work through that and like just focus on my own. But what do you think about that?
So,
because that's still, in a sense, to me, that's still talking about somebody, right?
So my life is like way different right now. And I think it's because I've taken off the pressure that I'm supposed to change anybody. I'm not supposed to change anybody. All I'm supposed to do is be present and share with somebody. If they're asking me a question, I can share what my beliefs are or my experiences are.
Nobody's asking us a question right now, though.
or at the end of the day, I'm here to share my story.
Okay.
And so people can pick up whatever resonates with them from my story. So like, for instance, if there's someone who you want to share information about, or you wanted to give information to with regards to their kids, it would be better for us to share what we do to raise our kids.
Right.
And either that message resonates with them or it doesn't. It doesn't have to be directly, pointed towards them. But if they came to you with a question, hey, Chastity, I see how you doing things with your kids. I'd love to be able to do things like you do. Could you give me some pointers? Then I think that gives you the freedom to share that. I also
am conscious enough to know that like everything I do isn't right? Like I might not have all the answers. I don't know all the science to everything. But I have a personality trait that when I believe something, it's like, this is it. This is the truth. So I'm also aware that like I need to work on some stuff around that, right? Like I'm a very stubborn person.
But it's your truth.
So once something's ingrained, but there's only one truth. And we know that. So the truth never needs defending. There's only one truth. We could argue something back and forth all day. We could try to prove everything.
But your truth is a perspective.
So right, like everyone has perspectives and everybody has...
So which one is true?
The oneness of it all.
So yours might not be true.
Maybe, yeah.
But it's true to you.
Everything, it's a belief system.
But it's true to you.
It's a belief.
But I'm saying it's only true to you because that's your definite perspective. So technically you could sit in a room with 10 people and they could all be living their truth.
Yeah.
And you're not in their shoes or in their head or in their heart. So you can't understand their truth.
Right.
So your truth is your truth. So then the way you can share your truth is if other people resonate with what you're saying.
Right, which is interesting because usually the people that you're trying to reach out to are the ones who do not agree with what you're saying. Right? Like here in this podcast, like if everybody like just believed everything we were saying, then we'd be making no impact. But if somebody was open enough, if somebody was open enough to like come listen, like, wow, I can see how that can make my life, improve my life. I can see how that can change my life, right? So today when we're talking about overcoming people's judgments, it's not as simple as, just get over what other people think. Yeah. It's so much more deeply layered than that. We are ingrained by our own judgments of ourselves. So what are other people's judgments that bother us? What are the judgments that so if somebody else has a judgment and it bothers us, what does that mean inside?
It triggered you.
Because I actually believe that judgment.
Sure. Or it's challenging. You might not 100% believe it, but it's a challenge that you have to transcend.
So it's a belief underneath. Like it is, like even if I'm not consciously, subconsciously, I actually believe it about myself. Like if somebody says, Chastity, you're just obsessed with fitness because you're obsessed with your image and your body and it's unhealthy. At one point, that might have triggered me because it was super true. Like I was obsessed with my body and perfecting things. And if somebody said, you're just obsessed with this because, like you have a mental illness, it might have triggered me because it was true. Like when I cheered, I used to make myself throw up. Like it was I was absolutely sick. At this point in my life, I know I'm obsessed with health because I think that in order to live a happy whole life, you have to take care of this vessel. You have to be able to share your energy with others. The only way you're useful in this world is if you have something to share, whether that's your heart, whether that's and like, this is what I have to share. This is my gift that I was given, like all of these tools for health and how to live more vital. Now I know that judgment wouldn't trigger me. Mm-hmm. But there's other judgments now that might right?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. Like, what if, they say that the world is just a mirror of what's going on inside. So what if the people who are saying stuff to you is really your own projection of yourself? Like you said,
Right, yeah.
And so, but then I guess it gives you the opportunity on a regular basis to challenge those beliefs that you have about yourself and to overcome them.
Yeah.
So if you can shift it into like, wow, do I really think about this about myself?
So that's a tool, right?
It's now becoming like actually part of your evolution if you switch perspective. Like, wow, this person's talking about me, or this person's talking about me, and wow, they are triggering me. So maybe part of me does agree with what they're saying as a belief. So maybe I need to, work on these limiting beliefs that I may have about myself.
But what if you start turning everything around? What if everything starts becoming a mirror and you're like, damn, it's all me?
It's beautiful.
Is it?
Yeah, because there's nobody outside of you to blame.
But what if that crumbles me? It makes me feel small and like, damn, it's all me. I just want to not be here.
How does it make you feel small?
If it's all me, then what's the point?
If it's all you, what's the point? I think the point is evolution.
For what though? Like if I'm like, okay, this is my fault. Okay, that's me too. This judgment's me. This judgment's me. Like what? That's overwhelming, right?
It's only overwhelming to you because that's where you're at in your life right now. You're actually becoming aware of all of your self-limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, your self-judgments that you have about yourself, all the things that you thought were not options in your life. You can now see that they are options in your life if you change your mindset.
So where do you think that's taking me, evolution-wise? If I'm
it's
going
taking
through an
you
evolution,
up the ladder to a higher level of consciousness and an overall higher level of being and enjoyment and happiness in life. But it's challenging, just like anything else.
Yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, it can be a mirror. And I think we talked about this in one episode. I'm like, yeah, I definitely think it's important to turn it around and like look at yourself. Right. I also believe there are stages in our life where we're meant to be around others that do trigger us to grow. And then there's stages in our life to recognize that there's times to not be around that space anymore. Whether it's natural, like a natural fall off, or like a conscious decision, like these friends are no good for me. They're not gonna fall off naturally because I have been so comfortable with these friends for a long time. But I understand every time I get around them, we're gossiping. I understand every time we get around them, they're like, hey, you wanna drink? And like if I'm consciously like, I wanna put down alcohol, I know that like talking about people makes me cringe. I have to step away from these people, right? These are no longer mirrors of who I am. Right, I have to make a conscious decision to be like, I love you guys, but I'm gonna be over here doing this now, right?
But what was your thought on that? No, I hear what you're saying, but what was?
I'm talking about the mirror thing. Like if you're constantly like mirroring back, it can be a dangerous loop to like be around these friends and like, oh, it's a mirror. Do I want to drink? And then like, do I want to talk about these people? It's a mirror. They're talking about this girl. I'm talking about this girl. So sometimes it's really, really necessary to step out of situations that we're in because it's not a mirror anymore if you're conscious of it not being a mirror.
I think everything is a scale. So like maybe when you first started recognizing that you are talking about people with all these friends, you're doing it fully unconscious,
right,
at scale number 100. And then you start waking up a little bit. Things start feeling really off. And then you're at 75%. You still talk about people, but you now you become more of an observer. Then at 50%, then at 30%, then at 25%, you're like, oh man, this doesn't feel right. All they're doing is talking about this person. I think it's like a spectrum. So technically that from 100 to 25% was still a mirror of how much of that juice did you still have in you. And then at that 10%, 0% point, the relationship naturally dissolved. Did you have to make that decision to move on, or did that naturally come about because you were no longer that person? You completely transcended into a different individual.
Comfort-wise, you can be different. Like I will say this around family. Like I've said this like for a while, right? Like the family would trigger things in me and make me be this person, like this character of who I thought I was supposed to be, right? But like you can't choose your family, and you can't like completely. For me, I would never want to abandon my family. My family's amazing. I love my family. But I will say they had this caricature of chastity because of what I was raised to be. And I realized I had to like let a lot of these things go and truly change my personality.
Did they have it or did you have it? So every time you were around them, you had to live up to the caricature.
Yes, I had it.
So it wasn't them, it was you.
Yes, so then people expected this caricature of me.
So you showed up.
Right.
And now you know that you don't have to show up for anybody.
Right.
You could just be who you want to be.
Right. So then when the judgments come and you feel like there are people who still expect that old you to exist, that's when it gets hard. Because you want to have this breakout of who you thought you were, because that's what's comfortable in that moment. And it's going through that discomfort of showing up as that better version of yourself, that person who you always were inside, that better person, because you're leveling up truly in all realms, right? Like you're truly leveling up mentally, spiritually, whatever you're doing, it's no longer going to be that person who used to show up.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And it's freeing.
Yeah. So like, you realize that there's this saying that everyone says, like, not everyone's gonna like you. So you have to like you can't please everyone, right? Like you have to like just do what you're doing. And it's so true. Like not everyone's going to like you, but if you're truly yourself, everyone around you is going to like you.
Agreed.
Because when you're authentically being yourself, just you naturally attract like loving beings. Like if you're leading from your heart and leading with love, you'll just look around you and be like, holy crap, this is a beautiful set of people around me.
Yeah.
Because like you've accepted yourself and you've loved yourself.
And so they naturally accept you.
You've loved yourself enough to allow yourself to be around people that truly love who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's like true leveling up. And you'll feel just like so much better when you like get the judgments, because if you're listening to what people are judging, if you're listening to those judgments, you're not allowing yourself to truly act in order with your alignment.
Agreed. So what is one way that you believe that has made you kind of like strong enough to step into those environments where you don't have to revert back to your caricature, where you can stay strong and true to your authentic self? Like, what do you think is something that the viewers could do or focus on in order to, you know, bring that level of strength and power to them?
That's a good question. I think that one of the main things that I've practiced is being like the watcher. That was Eckhart Tolle, like saying, be the watcher. And it's like, instead of playing and reacting and like acting out right away, watch who you are for an amount of time.
Yeah.
Right. Watch your actions. And then, you know, like when you have those playbacks in your head, like, oh, why did I do that? And it's so cringy.
Yeah.
Why did I say that? And you're like thinking about, it's like you're doing that in the moment. Right? Like you're watching yourself, and then you're able to just make better conscious decisions based off of like who you are inside. Like even having conversations, having a debate, having an argument, like you're able to watch somebody else because you're so present and say, do I enjoy this person that I'm watching?
Yeah.
Would I want to be around me?
Yeah. Or while you're doing, you know, as you're the observer or the watcher, as you say, you really sit in on the feelings of why you're doing what you did. Like, did I just do that to get approval? Right. Did I just change my mind because I didn't want to go against the grain in this conversation? Did I really feel like I needed to step up for myself right now and I didn't do that? Or, you know what, in this conversation right now with this person, do I just feel the need that I have to be right?
Right.
Right? You start to observe those things.
That was one of my major questions. Do I want to be right or do I want to be love?
Yeah.
Do I want to be right or do I want to be love? Like, because like love is God. Like all things that work are love.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly trying to be right, it just gets so heavy.
Yeah.
And it never really works out.
My thought is the one thing that I would highly recommend,
meditation.
I would say meditation, but I would also say meditation just because it's time with yourself.
Yeah.
If you can take some attention away from the outside world and start to look inside, like with the thought process that everything that I know about myself is really a conditioned belief. So what is real and what's not? And I think the more time you spend with yourself, the more curious and excited you become to learn more about yourself. And there comes a point in time when like nobody can take that excitement away from you.
Yeah.
And I think that becomes a strong foundation to really build that spiritual strength, that authenticity, and to really do your best to evolve into your best version of yourself.
So the best way to get over people's judgments is to just keep going.
Yeah.
Like if you have a goal, you go for it. And don't let the noise in. I just heard somewhere everything is a white noise trying to keep you asleep. And our job is to stay awake, keep going. I heard that in church, actually.
Yeah.
He said everything's a white noise trying to keep you asleep.
The value of all that you have is really your attention.
Attention.
Wherever your attention is what's going to happen.
Where focus goes, energy flows.
Exactly. So be mindful of your attention.
Amen. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Like and subscribe this video. Please share with your friends if any of this is useful. We love to share. We love your input. We love your comments. Let us know if we bored you to death or if you want more.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Peace.